Welcome back to another look at the X-Files. Today we're going to be looking at one of my all-time favorite episodes in this series, War of the Coprophages, episode 12 of season 3. Premiering January 5th, 1996. War of the Coprophages places Agent Mulder in the midst of a small-town panic as it seemingly becomes overrun by deadly cockroaches. The episode begins with an exterminator who's talking all poetically like cockroaches have some deeper meaning to them and just how amazing they are. But they're just disgusting insects, and if I ever found one in my home, I'd probably just set the whole damn thing on fire and start over. Dr. Jeff works in alternative fuel research and has a dislike for cockroaches just like all rational people do. Luckily, the exterminator brought just the right poison for them, although this little bugger doesn't want to go down. You know, they do say cockroaches and Twinkies will be the only things to survive a nuclear apocalypse. This cockroach seems to cast a thorn spell on itself, deflecting all damage back to the attacker. The cockroaches all come out of the woodwork like they're celebrating their win when the doc comes back down to see how things are going, and well, like I said, I would have just burnt the whole place down. We meet up with Mulder, who's been kicked out of his apartment as it's being fumigated. He's just doing typical Mulder stuff, you know, looking for reported UFOs. Scully calls him up because she can't go 5 minutes without speaking to the man, but am I the only one turned on by Scully cleaning her gun? The two talk about whatever, you know, life on other planets, his mother, blah blah blah, but Mulder gets down to the heart of what really matters.
Scully? What are you wearing?
How come when he asks her that, she laughs, but when I ask that, I'm asked to leave the Wendy's drive-thru? Their call is cut off real quick, however, when Mulder is interrupted by the local sheriff Frass, who wants to know what the hell he's doing out here all by himself. It is a little suspicious for a guy to be sitting alone in his car in the middle of the night. Mulder explains who he is, and the sheriff asks him why he had his windshield wipers going, to which Mulder tells him because there was a bug on the windshield. The sheriff seems to panic over this because he immediately reaches for his gun. Even if there are killer cockroaches going around, I don't think guns would be the most effective way of killing them. But if that's the route he wants to go, might as well call in the Colonial Marines.
My bug rocker's on a roll! Bull alien attacking! Eat torch, bug brain!
The sheriff then takes off, telling Mulder there was yet another roach attack.
Hello?
I think you better get up here.
What is it?
It appears the cockroaches are mortally attacking people.
Of course, the first thing Mulder does is annoy Scully while she's trying to eat. There's been multiple deaths recently, and each body has been found covered in cockroaches. However, Scully just brushes it off because it's far more likely that the exterminator was just allergic and never knew. Mulder thinks she's probably right and doesn't need her to come down. Then we meet a few stoners who are cooking up some feces to huff. I don't know what the hell they're doing, but it seems to do the job. There was apparently a street drug in the mid-90s that teens in Zambia would inhale called jenkem. It was made by placing urine and feces in a sealed bucket, allowing it to ferment in the sun, and then afterwards the teen would inhale the fumes, which gave off some kind of high. I remember hearing about this in the mid-2000s, but from what I can find online, it seems like most of it is just nonsense. Couldn't these three just do mushrooms like normal teens or 40-year-olds? It's hard to tell how old they are.
This stuff takes your mind and just sort of, expands it.
Yeah, well, something tells me it's more than my mind you guys are interested in expanding.
And the look on their faces tells me she isn't wrong. They better be careful though, because there seems to be some of those deadly cockroaches.
Oh God. Dude, what's wrong, man?
This might be one of the grossest things to happen in the series so far. As silly as the episode has been up to this point, things take a complete 180. And it only gets worse when he grabs a razor blade to try and cut the cockroaches out of his arm. But who cares about that, because the true star of the episode is here, and oh my god, it's the Quee. Yes, this is part 2 of the Queelogy, and I could not be more excited. I'm trying to enjoy the Quee when Mulder has to call because I guess the deaths are more important. Again though, Scully shoots down the idea that it was killer cockroaches and more likely Ekbom syndrome caused by their homemade drug. Ekbom syndrome being the delusive belief that one's body has become infested with bugs that no one else can see. Again, Scully asks if she could come down, but Mulder thinks she's probably right and doesn't need her assistance.
I'm sorry to bother you.
It's no bother. Bye.
And what did she think was going to happen leaving the Quee by himself? He's his own man and listens to no one. Mulder finds a cockroach at the scene, but when he grabs it, it completely shatters in his hand. The weird part though is it's metal. Good thing his coworker Chuck just so happens to be there as well to pull the metal shards out of his fingers. Wait, that's not Chuck. He's playing a completely different character now? They sure know how to reuse actors in this show. The doctor is worried that his family may be in danger because of the cockroaches and asks Mulder if he should be worried. But how the hell should Mulder know? He literally just got there. The doc decides it's time for a little bathroom break, but there are cockroaches everywhere. And this just gives me chills even thinking about it. The sheriff then comes in to see Mulder and starts talking about top secret experiments he thinks the government may be conducting.
It's top secret, very hush-hush.
What are you suggesting?
Killer bees. We're a genetic experiment going awry.
Genetically altered bees in the X-Files? That has to be the most ludicrous thing I've ever heard. And what's next? Dogs with bees in their mouth? And when they bark, they shoot bees at you? Oh, X-Files never change. There's suddenly a panicked shout coming from the bathroom, and they find the doctor keeled over. The man that found him claims he was covered with cockroaches, so Mulder calls up Scully. Again, she thinks it's nothing. She thinks he caused a brain aneurysm by straining a little too hard, and he did claim he was constipated.
Well, that all makes perfect sense, Scully. I don't like it at all. Did you know that the federal government, under the guise of the Department of Agriculture, has been conducting secret experiments up here?
Mulder decides to sneak into a nearby property owned by the Department of Agriculture because the sheriff claimed they were conducting experiments there. Scully tries to stop him, but like in previous episodes, telling him not to do something only makes him want to do it more. The inside just looks like any normal house, but with one exception. It's completely infested with cockroaches. Mulder gets caught in the act though, and quickly hangs up on Scully, who's a little worried about him. He meets a Dr. Bambi Berenbaum. Yeah, Bambi. And I kinda get why he just hung up on Scully. No offense to Dr. Bambi, but remember when Denise Richards played Dr. Christmas Jones in The World Is Not Enough, and we were just supposed to believe she was a nuclear physicist? Yeah, I'm getting the same vibes. Mulder questions Bambi about the cockroaches, if they're known for attacking people or being deadly, but she drops something on him that I don't think he was expecting.
Well, it's my theory that UFOs are actually insect swarms. I don't know if you know anything about UFOs, but...
I think Mulder just fell in love. Meanwhile, Scully is still waiting by that phone. Bambi thinks UFOs are insect swarms, and Mulder is ready to change just about everything he believes in.
Not now.
You know,
This is both hilarious and heartbreaking because I feel so bad for Scully. We then cut to a guy watching a news report at a motel about bodies being found covered in cockroaches, but those feet are far more disgusting than any cockroach. The report claims the cockroaches may be carrying the Ebola virus, but we know how the media loves to blow things out of proportion to cause mass fear and chaos. Mulder is staying at the same motel, but can't sleep because he keeps thinking he's covered in cockroaches.
Mulder, are you okay?
I can't sleep.
This poor girl has got it so bad. Sleeping next to the phone like that, waiting for him to call, and yet Chris Carter claims there was never anything going on. She was worried about him, but he tells her he spoke to an entomologist, and they said pretty much everything she did, that it's most likely not killer cockroaches. But things take a very interesting turn when Scully finds out that this entomologist just so happens to be a woman.
Her name is Bambi?
her theory is that UFOs are actually nocturnal insect swarms passing through electrical airfields.
Her name is Bambi?
This is also when Mulder drops a hatred of insects that he has never ever mentioned before. Not a fear of them, but a hatred of them. He didn't seem to hate them though when they were trying to eat him in Darkness Falls. This is like his fear of fire that he had for one episode and then never again. Their call is interrupted by a scream coming from a nearby room, and this is like a convention of lonely single men. When the men go inside, they find a guy covered in cockroaches, but as soon as Mulder pulls up, they're all gone. Mulder calls Scully once again, but this time he pretty much tells her everything she said she was right about. All the deaths are basically a coincidence, and this latest one was simply a heart attack caused by the panic being spread around by the media. But now all of a sudden, Scully insists that she has to come up and check things out for herself. She didn't before, but I wonder what changed. Could it be because she knows Mulder is now talking to another woman?
Mulder, I'm coming up there.
Whatever.
I love how she says she's coming up and he really couldn't care less. He's more interested in what may be a metallic cockroach. He brings the cockroach to Bambi and she goes on about how big its junk is. Oh, and I guess that it may be robotic. She suggests that he meet with an artificial intelligence researcher that just so happens to create robotic insects. So he does just that. He meets with Dr. Ivanov, who claims he's creating these robots as a means of exploring outer space, and that any being from another planet would likely be doing the exact same thing. Mulder shows the doc a piece of the metallic cockroach he found, but even he doesn't know what it is. I would love to know just how many people this cockroach going across the screen freaked out. At a local convenience store, people are just losing their marbles over the fear of the murderous cockroaches. This is so silly though. No way people would actually act like this in the real world. I want to know what kind of wild night this sailor is having, picking up chocolate and pantyhose of all things. Scully pulls up and these people really are nuts.
Roaches aren't attacking people, lady. Spreading the Ebola virus. Look, keep the change. We're all gonna be bleeding from our nipples.
She does what she can to calm them, but they've all bought into the hysteria. Mulder finishes up with the doctor and brings another cockroach he found to Bambi, but it's just a normal, boring, non-robot cockroach. Scully calls him again because she thinks she has a lead. The alternative fuel researcher has shipped in tons of manure to produce methane gas, but what if that manure also brought in cockroaches? His facility could be ground zero for where all the cockroaches are coming from. With no other leads to go on, Mulder makes his way to the facility, but brings Bambi along with him for reasons, I guess. The doc has lost his mind just a bit. He thinks the cockroaches are coming after him, but it's more likely that he's the one who's actually spreading them. But while Mulder deals with him, Scully pulls up to the facility and has an interesting interaction with Bambi.
Should I come along with you?
No. This is no place for an entomologist.
The way she pulls out her gun and talks to Bambi, it's like when a dog is marking their territory. The doctor starts losing his mind so much that he even starts accusing Mulder of being a cockroach himself. Especially when Scully calls Mulder and the ringing of his phone makes the doc think that he's hissing. The dumbass shoots at Mulder and hits one of the gas pipes, so now the entire place is ready to blow.
Get down!
The following morning, firefighters are on the scene along with the sheriff, but it doesn't look like they'll be finding the researcher anytime soon, or at all for that matter. Dr. Ivanov comes in and basically swoops Bambi off her feet and away from Mulder, which must make Scully happy at least.
You know, I never thought I'd say this to you, Scully. But you smell bad.
I love this episode so much. I've probably seen it a few dozen times and it always cracks me up. There really isn't an X-File of any kind though. Unless you count the robotic cockroaches, and maybe they are from another world, sent from alien beings to observe the human race. Although my money is on the government. We all know birds aren't real and are just spy drones, so why not cockroaches? The entire episode really boils down to Scully's jealousy of Mulder and can really be summed up with the distracted boyfriend meme. She didn't even care about what was going on until she found out about Bambi. Then she suddenly had to rush down and see everything for herself. Still though, this is another fun episode in a long line of fun episodes from writer Darren Morgan. War of the Coprophages currently has an 8.6 on IMDb, and I'm gonna go with a 9. Yes, I enjoy this episode that much. Like I mentioned, the episode was written by Darren Morgan. He got inspiration for the episode from a magazine that featured an article about roboticist Rodney Brooks, who created insect-like robots. He was also inspired by the old Orson Welles radio broadcast of War of the Worlds, which caused quite the panic back in 1938, when people who tuned in midway into the broadcast thought Martians had actually landed and were attacking. If they had tuned into the broadcast from the very beginning, they would have heard the introduction that told everyone that it was just a radio drama, but because they didn't, they thought it was real. The title, War of the Coprophages, was also a play on the title, War of the Worlds. And even the town where the episode takes place, Miller's Grove, is a take on Grover's Mill, where the events of War of the Worlds occurs. Oh, and also, coprophages are living organisms that eat poop. So the title is literally War of the Poop Eaters. There was even a scene in one of the earlier drafts where the sheriff brings up the hysteria from that broadcast, but it was sadly cut due to time restraints. Darren is known as being somewhat of a slow writer, but managed to knock this one out in a week. Unfortunately, he wasn't really happy with how it turned out, although Darren is kind of notorious for being overcritical of his work. In the Complete X-Files book, Darren said, "The other day my girlfriend was saying, I never understood that episode, and I guess I don't either. It was an episode that had a lot of what I thought were really good ideas, and never quite got it to work. I was really disappointed with that episode. Some people love it." One of those people who happened to love it was Jillian herself, who felt it was one of her favorite episodes from season 3. The show had a cockroach wrangler named Debbie Cove, who was responsible for the care of over 300 cockroaches used throughout the filming of the episode. And of the 300, only one died, though it was claimed to be from old age. Director Kim Manners apparently enjoyed working with the cockroaches, and cinematographer John Bartley said in the book The Truth Is Out There, "When I saw Kim Manners talking to a bucket of cockroaches, that was a highlight for me." On top of the live cockroaches, there were also a few fake ones created by prop master Ken Harlow that were so realistic they were nearly indistinguishable from the real ones. Early drafts of the script came under heavy scrutiny from censors because of the use of the word crap. Though it is still in the finished episode, it doesn't appear nearly as much as it does in earlier drafts. Yeah, the word crap was a big deal in 1996. Darren would go on to make a parody of this by including a network censor in an episode of the show Millennium. In it, the censor would storm the set of a show being filmed that looked an awful lot like The X-Files, complete with Mulder and Scully lookalikes, and a variation of the X-Files theme song.
I am broadcast standards and practices. This is unacceptable.
War of the Coprophages features a few notable guest stars. I've mentioned Ken Kramer before in a previous episode, Blood, but this will be his third and final appearance for The X-Files. Ray Burke played the alternative fuel researcher, Dr. Jeff Eckerl. He's an American character actor, mostly playing small supporting roles or background characters. His two most notable roles are of Mr. DePerna from the Wonder Years and villain Pap Schmear from 2 of the Naked Gun movies. Dion Anderson played Sheriff Frass, and funnily enough, Frass is the name given to insect feces. Dion is another character actor with small roles in films like Mr. Deeds and The Shawshank Redemption. Bobby Phillips played the role of Dr. Bambi Berenbaum. Bobby is an American-born actress and got her start alongside Halle Berry on the Fox show They Came From Outer Space. After that, she would guest star on shows like Married with Children, The Red Shoe Diaries, and even appear in the critically acclaimed masterpiece that is Showgirls. So if you want to see Bambi in all her glory, have at it. For what it's worth, she also appeared as the first female Crow Talon on the TV series The Crow, Stairway to Heaven. Bobby would end up winning a Reader's Choice Award for Best Actress in a Genre TV Series for this episode, and would more or less retire from acting in the early 2000s, even though she does appear in small productions here and there. War of the Coprophages is a really fun episode and one of my favorites, so it definitely comes highly recommended. Next up is an episode where Scully gets jealous of yet another woman, and a young Ryan Reynolds has a very brief cameo. Oh, also there are a couple girls who share a birthday and cause a bunch of trouble in the episode Syzygy, or Syzygy, whatever the hell it's called. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you're looking for some more creepy crawly fun, I also did a video on the film Arachnophobia, so you can check that out if you're interested. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a great day, and as always, stay spooky.
Friday. For centuries, we've tried to exterminate them.
It appears the cockroaches are mortally attacking people.
Now, it's payback time.
Mulder, what's going on?
They're everywhere. I'm surrounded.
If you miss this X-Files, it's gonna bug you. A brand new episode Friday at 9, 8 Central on Fox.